Hi. What did I miss? Not much, apparently. By my visit, when was it? Was it Thursday? Friday. When I was at O'Hare trying to make it home. I'm trying to think, when was that? All the days are running together. Thursday, I think. I think it was Thursday. Yeah, it was Thursday. So bases dropped on a new week of soccer down here on the AM side. John, hear you there. Thanks for coming in. And it's good to be back. I mean, it was good to be away for the championships. And sorry, Friday. Wow, no, it was Friday coming home. Yeah, so Friday briefly on the afternoon show where you remember the Uber exploits. You can go back and listen and toward the end, like the last 15 or 20 minutes. So yeah, it was a long week. The high school football championships are traditionally a long week, even though it's 3 days. I think it was 41 hours in 3 days on site. And then the boss and I went to her annual Christmas party. And if you follow her on social media, you see our Hallmark-based photos and on the Hallmark-based photo session from when it snowed up in Chicago on Thursday, flew back on Friday, and I got to go to Lou Malnati's while there was an announcement for a new head coach, and had that activity going on for Atlanta United. Ronnie Dyla is now in, and he's bringing a couple of coaches with him. So that was all last week. Morning Ricky, morning Four Card, morning Sharif. So we'll talk about it and this week and next week, because Christmas and New Year's fall in the middle of the week. It's going to be a little weird. So here's the rundown as I have it. So today is normal, obviously. Bart's going to join us at 10 o'clock because we do have some reffing down here that we do have to get into. And it came from this past weekend in the Premier League where the PGMOL and our friends from Pro seem to be on opposite sides of operating VAR. And so we'll get into that with Bart in hour number 2, along with anything else that's on Mr. President's mind. Then tomorrow, I'm going to see. After today, actually. I mean, after today, I'm going to send a couple of folks notes and find out what their availabilities are, because Wednesday is off the board. Wednesday's Christmas Day, and we're spending time with family. And so Wednesday this week and next are off the board because it's New Year's Day and Christmas Day. So Wednesday's off the board. Thursday, probably something power hour-ish for Boxing Day. We'll see how long we go. And Friday, we should be back to something akin to normal. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to obviously reach out to folks. I'm going to reach out to Tyler because Tyler will be busy on the next 2 Wednesdays. Reach out to Kaylor Hodges because we do have some stuff going on in USL that we need to get into. And from there, it's catching up with Nino and Nico and catching up with them and finding out, okay, are you guys still good for Boxing Day, and what the guest situation is going to be. So today is normal. Tomorrow is as normal as it can be, because today, this afternoon, the boss and I and the Rowdy Man are traveling to go see the mother-in-law, her mom, my mother-in-law. And we all know how much of an adventure it is getting a signal out of Southeast Alabama. So, good Lord willing and the creek don't rise, we're normal tomorrow, 9:05 Eastern. So we'll see what happens with the power situation and all that. Then Wednesday, nothing. Thursday, probably something power hour-ish, and we'll check in with Nino and Nico and see what's going on. If American Christmas has overwhelmed them with gifts and wrappings and ponies and such, we'll see what's going on Thursday. And Friday should be as normal as possible. But once again, remember, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Southeast Alabama. And the internet and the cable systems and the cell service. Remember what happened last time. So Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, location different, signal far different. Today here in Office HD. So that's what we're looking at. Like I said, we'll reach out to our guests and we'll see who can hang out with us and who can do what and who can hang out and all that kind of stuff. But that's the week logistically. Probably the same next week, except that we'll be back here to do it all. So just to give you fair warning now, Today, normal situation, normal studio. Tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, not normal situation, normal studio, but still attempting to get broadcast signals out of Southeast Alabama Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Wednesday, we leave it to all of you to have time with your families in whichever capacities you wish. So there you go. Morning, Will, morning, Tom. And so that's where we are. So let's see. Ricky, are we back? It feels like it. Yeah. Yeah, I think we can be as back as possible. So we'll see what's up. So morning Four Card, morning Sharif, morning Will, morning Tom. Will be at the office all day this week except for Wednesday and Friday. And so Tom is checking in from near Richmond in-laws as well. So Tom, I send you the patience and the wisdom of dealing with in-laws. Domnus omnis. So Ricky is going to be at the office all week except for Wednesday and Friday. All right. So that's the current situation for everybody who is hopping in today. All right. So opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And that is your QR code. For those of you who are hanging out with us, however you are doing so, large device or small, and you hit that QR code from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com, you get to kick off your day with them. And then what you do on your checkout, after you've bought out the store, you use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvest at youth games, youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And we do have a couple of promos after the fact. All right. 'Tis the season for customer service. And I'm going to call out my bank this morning. Not by name, but I'm just going to call them out. I don't know how many of you this time of year are, susceptible to, having to shop a certain way, and you have it, a lot of us still will go out into the community, we'll go out to our favorite malls, we'll do the walking in the town square, the idyllic, Hallmarkian kind of a thing where you're walking around, you're doing window shopping, you sit there and go, ooh, that's kind of cool. Some folks still do it that way. Most of us do it electronically with our cards, and, we sit there and it's like, well, swipe, and this is not the card in question. This is a Vons Club card from my travels out in the West Coast. So if anybody ever shops at Vons, then, feel free to use this and get me discounts when you shop at Vons grocery stores. But my bank, for some reason, and I don't know why this is, and I have to actually investigate this. And so the fact that I'm learning this the day before I'm having to leave town and be nowhere close to my mailbox for the remainder of the week is an issue. Traditionally, they're very, very good at this, and I don't know why things have changed. It might just be this particular type of incident that I'm having to deal with, and I wanted to canvass all of you and see if it's the same. So traditionally, when there is a fraud on my account, the bank literally, they light me up. It's an email, it's a text, and I will stipulate that I think that I accidentally stopped getting texts from my bank about fraud alerts and things like that. And I have to talk to them about getting them back. But right now, the card that I use, which is new, it's only a couple of months old because of frauds that happened on the previous card, I had to get it swapped out. So I have a new ATM card, a new electronic purchase card with my particular bank. And apparently something happened over the week, over the last couple of days, probably the weekend, that has rendered the card useless. And I don't know what that is. Like I said, traditionally, my bank, they are lickety-split about it. They're like, bro, you got a problem? Did you attempt to spend $86.03 in something in Ukraine? Traditionally, the answer is yes. But what they'll do is they'll stop you. They'll sit there and they'll send you the fraud notification. And then they'll stop the purchase, and then they'll light you up. They'll text you, "Hey, did you try to send it? Type Y for yes, N for no. If you didn't do it, then call us at our number so we can sort through everything and get you a new card." I got none of that. None of that happened this go round. No email, no nothing. Hey, bro, something's wrong with your card. You might want to, give us a call and check up on it. No, didn't get any of that. Got none of it. So last night, the boss and I and 6 of our friends went to go see a local yearly Christmas production. And if you can get tickets for Walmart Christmas over at 7 Stages with Topher Payne, knock yourself out. It's stacked, it's packed, it's full. Their run is, I think it's a 10-day run, and it might have just ended, as a matter of fact. But anyway, for those of you that had the chance to go see Walmart Christmas at 7 Stages with our friend Topher Payne, who is an incredibly talented playwright and screenwriter, scriptwriter, etc., that we go out, we catch up with our friends, and traditionally, because you're in Little Five Points, you want to go get something to eat after you're done, because it was a matinee. And so it's like an hour and 15 minutes. And so when the matinee's over, it's like 6:15, 6:30, and you're hungry. You want to go get dinner. So we go out and we go to one of the local establishments that I had never been to, because traditionally I'll go to like Yacht Club or something when we're down there in Little Five Points, or Brew House, which was rated by Men in Blazers as one of the top 10 soccer establishments in the country. So go vote. However, the Men in Blazers wish to do voting. We'll get into our voting in a bit. So I go to the establishment that we're eating at, and I beat the boss to the punch because I didn't want her to pay for our meal, being the somewhat chivalrous sort that I am. Try that 10 times on a Monday. And so, I hand my card over to the waitress, and it's like, "Okay, here, pay for it, blah, blah." She comes back, and she was being diplomatic. "I'm having problems." I mean, she was far nicer about it than my presentation. "I'm having problems with your card. Do you have another card?" And that's embarrassing enough as it is, because you search on your phone. Where's my phone, by the way? Well, crap. I think my phone's over on the other side of the room. Anyway, so you go and you've got money in your bank account. And so you hand the card over. You're confident that everything can be paid for, all that, But she comes, "I'm having a problem with your card. You have another card." And I'm thinking to myself, I know I got money in my account. So I checked my phone, checked my, my digital banking. Money's there. No fraud or anything had been perpetrated on the account. And so I'm like, "Yeah, I got." And so then the boss turns around and she's like, "Okay, what?" So I go, "Apparently there's a problem with the card." And so she grabs one of hers, and everything's fine. But it's the principle of the thing for me. So I had one of those instances yesterday in trying to pay for a meal while we're out, and we're enjoying what time we have that's not devoted to being stuck in traffic, buying gifts, etc. So now what I've got to do is I have to contact my bank and go, "What's up, and why haven't you told me anything?" Traditionally you do, but this time you didn't. And if it comes back to the idea, well, we traditionally give you the texts, but apparently you opted out of those. And I'm like, "Yeah, that's my bad." But I never got an email from them or anything when it came to figuring out what the problem is. So that's where we are. And so now my guess is that I have to come up with a way to actually pay for things, not using a card that has no value attached to my number one checking account, from a bank that didn't tell me that I had an issue to begin with. My main questions are these, not to the bank, but to you. When it comes to customer service these days, and my instances of having to deal with customer service issues are rare. When it comes to dealing with customer service issues, How are your interactions? Are you normally cool? Is it cool? Did things get taken care of? All that kind of stuff. Well, how is your table run when it comes to dealing with customer service problems? That's my biggest question. So I didn't know if what I'm stepping into is going to be something where I will not have any kind of resolution until the year 2037, or if it's going to happen fairly quickly. But the main immediate issue is that I have a problem with one of my cards trying to access my bank account, and it is now worthless. I am leaving Office HD later today. And so, in trying to end up and get a new card, which is what I anticipate having to do, traditionally, what do? They send it to your home address. I will not be at home. So, it gets sent here. The mail will have been stopped. And I will be without a number one card to my number one account until I come back at the earliest on Saturday. So getting any transaction done on any level is going to be virtually worthless. Absolutely worthless to me. Can't get anything done, can't get anything paid for, can't get anything accomplished because of this clash of customer service ideas. So I anticipate over the next 4 days at the least, because the second I get off the air today, I'm going to have to be in line digitally trying to get to the bottom of this issue and go, well, why didn't you tell me? And then if they tell me, well, we tried, you opted out of text, I'll be like, okay, that was a mistake. Re-up me now. But how can we expedite fixing this issue? Can you send it to a new address? But then I run the risk, if they try to send it to the address of the mother-in-law, that if by the time we leave it hasn't shown up, then it's going to be headed to the mother-in-law's house and I'll be headed back here. So I will have missed it for that much more time. And she can't go to FedEx, I don't think, and sit there and throw something in an envelope and overnight it. Because once again, that's like another day or two. So you see the conundrum here. All I know is that once the show is over today, I'm going to be on hold with a customer service representative trying to get a new ATM card. And I didn't know if you guys during this holiday season are going through the same things that I am in dealing with all of this nonsense and what your success rate is in dealing with the nonsense. So there you go. That's opening kickoff. Those are my questions. I welcome your answers. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code for those of you who are hanging out with us this morning. You hit that QR code, gets you into Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. But what you end up doing is use the code SoccerDownHere15. You take 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvest it in the youth games, youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. That is not the only promo that we have here this morning. I'm just trying to see, I stood up, I had the QR code kind of block everybody's vision for a second so I could see if the QR code actually could protect me as I'm sitting here looking in the office for my phone. I think my phone's upstairs. Shows you where Mondays are. Okay. So the other promos that we have, once again, here's our friends at Grady Baby Co. I got my shipment coming in. It came in last week. So what you can do, you can get your Grady Baby Co. gear. Soccer is just better in Atlanta. You can get the red, you can get the black, you can get the hoodie, you can get the T-shirt. They got some really other cool stuff too. Black Wall Street stuff from Tulsa, stuff having to do with local towns here in the Atlanta metropolitan area. But Grady Baby Co. Our collaboration with them helps out projects starting in 2025. There's a bit of a turnaround time because they got swamped, and that's a good thing. So you can get your Soccer's Just Better in Atlanta. This particular cause helps out middle school soccer programs attached to Atlanta Public Schools. So you pick up your Grady Baby Co. gear, you help that out here starting late 24, early 25. Very, very cool initiative from our friends at Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co. And then also from our friends at the Marshall Islands, this was their first jersey. And so they go from the first jersey, they have another one out. They're getting me to the poorhouse. And remember, since it's Marshall Islands, you probably have to go up at least a size or two when it comes to the size of the jersey that you want. You can either pick up the original, you can pick up the new one, the no home jersey. You can pick up the scarf, by the way, which is modeled by Matty Cruz. But go to the Marshall Islands shop. You can get their new jersey as well. Their new jersey, not their New Jersey, but their new jersey, their 2030 no home jersey. And you can go and help out the last country that is trying to develop a national soccer program and help out things in Micronesia. So you can go to the Marshall Islands website and help them out as well. So you've got all of that. And then you also have the humble request from us. The humble request from us is go here. Sports podcast group. You go into the sports category, Best Sports Talk Podcast. We're in it. We're one of the dozen finalists. You've got another 2 weeks or so, 3 weeks to vote. Vote early, vote often. If you can. If you can set up a bot, maybe. I don't know what because in the Football Content Awards, it was 50% of the fan vote and then 50% of the judges. That was how they came up with the winner in the category at the FCAs. I don't know how they're going to determine the winner here in this category. But we're up against New Heights with some dudes named the Kelseys, and the SV Pods with Scott Van Pelt and Stanford Steve, and Bill Roden and the Bros Pod, and a handful of others. So we are one of the 12 finalists in the Best Sports Talk Podcast category. If you have not voted, please vote. If you have voted and you can vote again, maybe in a different laptop, go for it. If your friends haven't voted, if you put it in the Discord and remind folks to vote early, vote often for us. This is crazy. It's been a crazy year for nominations. First off, getting nominated in the FCAs and losing out to Sky, BBC, and the Golasso Network. That was humbling enough as it was. And to be a finalist there in that category over American Thanksgiving. And now this on the follow-up, Best Sports Podcast in the Sports Podcast Awards, the SPAs. So the Sports Podcast Awards have us in the Best Sports Talk category up against New Heights and Bros Pod and SV Pods and a bunch of others. So one of the 12 finalists in that, very, very humbling as well, and mind-bending and mind-blowing on a bunch of different levels. So can't thank you all enough for being a part of all of this. But we have until, I want to say, January 13th to vote. But don't wait until January 13th. Vote now. Vote early, vote often at the Sports Podcast, at sportspodcastgroup.com for the SPAs and the sports category, Best Sports Talk Podcast. So they put us there, I guess, because of our daily doses of dosingness. So there you go. So vote, buy stuff to help out people, do soccer for good. That's the notes here in the first 25 minutes. So that's the opening kickoff across the board. So let me see what I'm missing. Let me see what I'm missing here from all the conversations. Will is the in-laws to us this year. Mother-in-law 75th tomorrow. Dad 68th Thursday. And yeah, then the Christmas thing. Yeah, right there with you. Morning pars. Tom, John, I need you to leave for a week more often. I got lots of good news on my clubs while you were gone. Yeah. You got an owner? And, hey, look, Everton got the Friedkin group all checked out. You started there. So you got good news there with Everton, Atlanta United, getting Ronnie Dyla, and all the things. Ricky, when I was a junior at Auburn, someone tried to buy $400 worth of clothes in New Jersey on my card. Only had $350 in my account. Broke college student life. Saved him. No doubt. Yeah, I mean, when I was in college, I was up against the NSF. I was like the poster child for insufficient funds. I really was. Michael Valverde, missed you, man. Not much happened while I was covering the other football. Pars' wife knows Topher. How do I know Topher? The boss and Topher go way back, and from her time in the theater scene And so Topher, and she also starred in one of Topher's plays when Morningside was at on stage. The boss was the female lead. That was one of the coolest things. She and if you ask the boss, she will tell you it's one of the coolest things she's ever got to do was be in a Topher Payne production first off, and then be the lead in a Topher Payne production. So she did Morningside at on stage a couple years ago, and so she's known Topher forever. So, yeah, Will, yeah, we're gonna need to come in on Saturday. Exactly. I need to know the right way to pronounce Dyla's name. Team published it phonetically as Dyla. Chris Henderson, Conti, and Jason have all said Dayla. I think it's Dyla. Michael Head. Local credit union issues debit cards on site immediately. God bless you, man. Ricky says it just depends on the bank. I would not send it to another address. And Emilio, I think this is where I think I was going when Ronnie said it himself, and he said Dyla. Gilberto says there are things still called checks. Yeah, I can't remember, to be honest. Gilberto, I cannot remember the last time I physically wrote a check. I cannot remember the last time I wrote a check. For me, it's and to Ricky's point, this is where I dance too. Move it into a PayPal account, and then what I do is when I route my PayPal, usually PayPal goes to card number 1, card that is dead. Then the backup plan is to go straight to the bank account. So that's traditionally what I do when I pay for things from PayPal. But I mean, like bills and things. I mean, like if I'm out and about and I want to buy something, and this is why, because this is the other part, because I was trying to finish up shopping for the holiday and couldn't do it because of the issue with the card. So it has turned into this larger mess than you could ever think. Michael's like, don't have it sent elsewhere. Just have Patty pay. I'm sure that'd go over well. Parr said, just had this happen. Card took over a week. See, and this is the thing. So I think that in talking this out, what I'm probably going to just have them do is just send the new card to the house. Just send it to Office HD, and we'll get this done. We'll get this, So I'm going to see if I can route things in ways that they're supposed to be routed, and just deal with it. Figure out what the heck's going on. Yes, and according to Ricky, I can pay every week, everywhere. Yes. Absolutely true, because I've seen those commercials, and we all know that commercials say the exact truthful things 100% of the time. Okay, this is news, so we've got to hang on to this. Abby says her Olive in York, and this is the other thing. Damn it, I knew I forgot to talk about something. And yeah, you can go to Olive in York and get our SDH jersey. And once again, this is what is earmarked for causes in 2025. You can go to Olive in York, get your SDH jersey. Thanks to our friends at Kaiser Permanente for being on the front. And it is to earmark causes for SDH starting in 2025. So go to Olive in York. You can get it. Now, Abby, is it black or dark blue? To me, it's black. I may just be blind as you know what, but I think it's black. And you can get like light blue lettering or white lettering, and you can personalize it. I didn't personalize mine just because, it's like you wander around with like Nelson 11 on the back. I mean, you can't put like, Pele 10. You could, but I didn't personalize mine. I just got my jersey that's got the front, but I think it's black. Abby, let me know. And so Abby says it's Dyla. Yes. And Mateus Klick. By the way, if you're looking for some background on Mateus Klick, there is an article on the Athletic when Klick came over from Leeds to DC. This is required reading. The Athletic came out with a piece on Klick, and it's about Bielsa's influence and all that kind of stuff and him coming to the U.S. So that's required reading. For those of you, you got to go into the Wayback Machine a little bit. But look up the Mateus Click article at The Athletic when he came over to D.C. So that's required reading for the week. Will was also, he was at Auburn and Purdue Saturday. So you went to the Battle of Birmingham. Dad's a huge college hoops fan, and any game is a good one. Yes. You guys are talking about that. Emilio, no debit cards in college. Traveler's checks. Yes. Traveler's checks. And Pars's boss may know my boss. Probably do. Would not be surprised. Yeah, they were. Yeah, it was. Yeah, the Auburn Purdue game. The boss was happy about it. By the way, the Battle of Birmingham. Rawr. Autocorrect refuses not to correct Diela. Diela. It's not Delia. Yeah, Emilio, handyman once a year. Abby says, always have one card you never use online, never leaves your hand. Yes, and Click, assist man, purveyor of the dark arts. Absolutely true. So it's dark navy. Okay, so Alex says that there is no dark or light navy. There is only navy. There is no dark or light. There is only navy. So it's apparently navy. It's only navy. So it is navy. It is a navy jersey with the option of having. So Alex goes complete Yoda in describing the SDH jersey at Olive in New York, or Mr. Miyagi, one of the two. Right side safe, left side safe. In middle, sooner or later, squish like grape. So that's what you're getting at here. Okay, so navy, and you can either have it in light blue or white with your lettering and your sponsorshipness. So there you go. Okay, so it is navy. But I'm with Abby. I probably would sit there and go to a little dark navy. So that's where we are. Okay, so that's taken care of. So I got the jersey taken care of. Yes, absolutely true, Will. Absolutely true. There is no navy, only Zool. And Abby's in the Chick-fil-A drive-thru. You're going to be there a while because you got another 20 minutes for breakfast. So that's opening kickoff. Let's see. So the jersey that you can get at Olive in New York, all your Marshall Islands gear to help out the program, your Grady Baby Co. to help out middle school soccer programs and APS, and vote for us on the Sports Podcast Awards. I think that's everything. See, this is what happens when I'm gone. You try to sit there and remember everything that you've got to do and you got to vote for and all these kinds of things and everything that you've missed. So, mobile orders. That's smart. But once again, I would probably have an issue and forget about that kind of stuff. So, so that's where we are. That's opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And once again, that's your QR code. Start your day at Kickoff Coffee. When you buy Kickoff Coffee out, use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvest at youth games, youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. So when you buy Kickoff Coffee out, you can buy them out at a 15% discount. Buy the store out. Melissa Ortiz will be happy. Use the coupon and the QR code. You get 15% off of buying the store out, and you start it again tomorrow. All right. So this morning, we got to go through the papers. We got to go through the news of the AM, all these kinds of things. So we'll go through the papers and let everybody know what's going on because there's stuff to watch. Remember, you're in festive fixtures. So we got to talk about what happened this past weekend where Spurs gave up 6, and it didn't even look that close. Finished up 6-3. I did not have a Wimbledon set discussion as a part of possibly discussing things in the Premier League. So avoiding the 3 and the 4-letter paper as we go. Trent Alexander-Arnold's Liverpool teammate has publicly joked about the defender signing a new deal at Anfield. Ruben Amorim is urging Manchester United to build a brand new scouting team in Portugal. We'll talk to Nino about that next time he pops up because if you remember on Thursday, Jason got to catch up with Nino about Portugal and Gyökeres and Amorim and all those kinds of things. Go back to Thursday and you can listen to that conversation. Marseille's boss Roberto De Zerbi admits he will, quote, try and find space end quote. For champion players, the mid-links with Paul Pogba. Daily Star, Alexis Sanchez admitted he wanted to cut short his stint with Manchester United after his first training session. They're planning on going on a postseason trip to Malaysia that will raise further concerns about player welfare. Hearts first team coach Liam Fox under consideration for a vacancy as well. So that's the early stuff. Bukayo Saka is going to be out for many weeks, according to Mikel Arteta. Hamstring injury. So that was in the press conference after he came off after the 5-1 win over Crystal Palace on Saturday. Seen leaving Selhurst Park on crutches. They've lost Raheem Sterling as well to an injury sustained in training last Friday. Is it just me or does Luis Enrique, it looks like he might be having more fun. So Bukayo Saka has been ruled out for many weeks after tearing his hamstring. 24th minute of the game against Crystal Palace. 24th minute. Arteta said in his press conference today, it's not looking good, going to be out for many weeks. I cannot be too specific because I do not know, but it's going to be many weeks. He was gutted. You can tell he's not been injured because he's been really emotional and down. We have to lift him up. It's part of his job, a big part of his job. He'll be fine, but he needs a few days. So it is going to be many weeks for the hamstring injury. Limped off while England was on duty in October, sidelined for a few weeks, missing Arsenal's loss to Bournemouth. Asked if Saka's season could be over, Mikel Arteta said no. In football with injuries, you cannot put 10 fingers there. But I'm very optimistic he'll be well back before the end of the season. Jesus scored twice. Martinelli had a goal and an assist. So Gabi played on the right. Waneri's played there. Trossard's played there. Havertz can play. They're asking him to do different things. We'll try and speak to them as well. So Arteta's putting ideas together. Makes you wonder if Arsenal may act in January and trying to figure out what the solution may be. Saka in team goal involvement is 7th right now in the Premier League. Top percentage-wise for Arsenal. 5 goals, 10 assists. So basically 5 out of every 11 when it comes to the goal involvement. Bukayo Saka has either had a goal and an assist. Salah, 70% of his team's goals, he has been involved this year at 15 and 11. Isak, Dwight McNeil, Erling Haaland, Liam Delap, Cole Palmer, Saka is 7th. Bruno Fernandes is 8th. Mateus Cunha 9. Chris Wood with 10 goals, no assists is 10th. But they will be without him for a while. Many weeks. Sterling out for a while as well. So Eddie Howe says he does not want to sell Martin Dubravka amid claims that he moved to Saudi Arabia is close to being agreed to. The Slovakian international currently deputizing for the injured Nick Pope, but reports have a suggested January transfer to Al-Shabaab almost being complete. Eddie Howe says, that's news to me. We ain't to January yet either. Asked if his stance was a result of Pope's injury. England internationals had injections for a knee problem set to rule him out until the new year. Eddie Howe said, certainly we wouldn't want to lose the keeper that's playing for us currently. That wouldn't make sense. So no, it isn't a deal that we'd want to sanction currently. Monza has sacked Alessandro Nesta. 3rd straight loss on the weekend when they were beaten 2-1 by Juve, winless in 9. Hired in June. Their only Serie A win this year was a 3-0 victory at Hellas Verona in October. Nesta was a part of the squad that won the 06 World Cup, played for Lazio, Milan, coached at the Miami FC, Perugia, Frosinone, and Reggiana. Monza visits Parma in Serie A on Sunday. Apparently, Sheffield United got their takeover. COH Sports finally has new owners. They've been waiting since the summer. So, Sarah Abdullah Mossad put out a public statement, but COH has apparently now taken over Sheffield United finally. They want to tweak the squad, having ownership in place. Chris Wilder now might be able to get the deals done that he wants to get done. 4-page note. involving the new owners at Sheffield United. No deadline according to Liverpool contract negotiations with Virgil van Dijk. Van Dijk says there is no deadline regarding the situation. Melissa Reddy this morning on Sky says Marcus Rashford's not conducting himself well. Apparently there was an interview that went out where Marcus Rashford was less than kind with his words. So let's see. Eddie Howe has had his morning presser. Arteta's had his morning presser. Lisandro Martinez says he can see a light at Manchester United despite Sunday's 3-0 home loss to Bournemouth. Red Devils booed by some of their own fans after the loss, after the late win over Manchester City. Ruben Amorim wants a new United scouting team in Portugal. Boy, does he want to hijack from Portugal. Can't say I blame the man, but seriously. New coach bump for Wolves, Vitor Pereira. 3-0 win over Leicester. El Nacional says Alejandro Garnacho will not find a route out of Manchester United with Barca after they turned down the potential of a move. So Garnacho, if he's looking to go someplace else, he ain't going to be going anyplace else anytime soon. Let's see. Trying to check and see if there's anything else that has to do with anything in the Premier League. Fulham and Southampton, even Juric was in the stands getting ready for his takeover of Southampton, signed an 18-month deal. And so they get a point sharing the result goalless draw with Fulham. So, hooray, a point for Southampton. So, Southampton got a point. They're closer to still not being in the relegation zone and being dead last, but they're close. For those of you that get the Telegraph had a big feature on Michelle Kang, by the way. So that might be something akin to required reading of the day. Ange Postecoglou obviously says he's not going to change after all the goals that they've given up in recent weeks. We're not changing who we are. But that will be interesting to continue to see that saga with what's going on with Spurs. Forest has named the former Roma CEO as their new CEO. So that happened this morning. And she was not welcomed with open arms when she was at Roma, but now she is a part of the Marinakis group. Lina Manugu. So she is now in as CEO across the board. So we will see what happens there with Manugu. I'm trying to see what other news there is before Bart joins us in 10 minutes. I'm trying to see if there's anything that I've missed news-wise. Yeah, Nottingham Forest is going to be spending Christmas in the top 4. Not that I wouldn't keep an eye on PSR or anything, but I would keep an eye on PSR. Dele Alli, by the way, has announced an Everton exit, hinting at a new challenge. How many matches did Dele Alli play with Everton? 13 in 3 years since signing with Spurs. Invited to train with Como by Cesc Fabregas as he seeks to rebuild his career. Twice in a Champions League final, once in a World Cup semi, twice PFA Young Player of the Year. So Como, perhaps in Dele Alli, 13 appearances in almost 3 seasons. 13 appearances in 3 years. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. So when you think about it, that's just wild. For various and sundry reasons and things, that Dele Alli's only played in 13 matches in the last 3 seasons across the board. Did not have that one on the board. Luton Town have announced they signed Victor Moses on a permanent, subject to international clearance after having spent the last 4 years at Spartak Moscow. So welcome back to Welcome back, Victor Moses. He'll be in the championship, but we'll see. We'll see how that runs. That's wild. No, that's not what I was looking for. It's just like they sit there and get to, hey, breaking news, and you sit there and you click on it. From August. No, that's not. It's called not updating your page, people. Here's my question for you for the morning, and it's going to be a question pretty much for the week. We know about, we know about what we want to do involving. I had a train of thought and I absolutely lost it. I had an idea in my head. Oh yeah, Christmas gifts, holiday gifts. So we know what we want to get, and this is more like a question of the day kind of a thing. And I will tell you right now that this is probably how the week is going to be. The week is going to be so scattershot, it's not even fun. But we all know about the gifts that we want to get others, the ones that are closest to us. We always think that there's always things that are cool to buy. What gift would you get for the team that you hate the most? What gift would you get for the team that you hate the most? Could be Charlotte, could be the purple team, could be Messi and friends. Would you get Messi and friends an IRS audit? Something like that. What would you get the team that you hate the most? Could be your Premier League team, could be a team overseas that's your mortal enemy, could be a team here on this side of the Atlantic that you don't like. What gift would you give your mortal enemy? And I could take this one of two ways. You could be serious about it, or you could spread the holiday series. You could spread the gift giving of the holiday season, and spread the gifts of joy to even your worst enemy. What would you get your worst enemy? And like I said, it can be serious, or you can, like I said, you can give Messi and friends an IRS audit. What would you give your worst enemy in addition to what your perfect gift would be this holiday season? And I know that Abby could line up 9, and we all should probably line up 9 for Abby. But what would your perfect gift be for the holiday season, and what would you gift your mortal enemy? The team that you hate the most, what would you give them? So there you go. That was the other question. How ridiculous it gets with unbalanced scheduling. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the league, Major League Soccer, is going to be looking at, okay, what can we have for TV product? And that's some of the stuff that we didn't get into last week, at least I didn't, with the MLS schedule and what Apple's looking for and those kinds of things. We've got to get into that. We'll get into that this week as we go. MLS scheduling, what it looks like, not having everybody at the 7:30 and 10 and 10:30 windows, or the 7:30 local windows, having exclusive windows across the board, which you need to do. You need to widen out your schedule. USL Championship and League One schedules are out. When Bart comes in, I do want to discuss the Women's World Cup and Netflix. I do want to get to Bart with that when he shows up in about 5 minutes. I do want to discuss that as well. Pars wants to know, what do we think of the new away kit will look like? I don't know. That'll be fun. Will sick of seeing LA and Seattle. We've never been to Minnesota, and we haven't seen Vancouver. We've never been to Austin. We've never been to Austin. We need to go to Austin, Texas, so everyone can see just how small Q2 Stadium is. And when Austin FC is winning, how much of an issue getting seats and getting people to go into the building should be. Because the stadium is too small. Yeah, and Will mentioning Botafogo, Lyon, and all of that. And it is intriguing because, once again, Eagle Football Group, late last week we saw the sign behind Thiago Almada, Botafogo to Lyon. We all know the financial issues that Lyon has with the proposed relegation if they ain't paying your bills. But that was part of the plan all along, was to start him at Botafogo, move him to Europe, And it was probably going to be the Botafogo to Lyon to wherever John Textor is owning a club in the Premier League. So the thought initially was Botafogo, Lyon, Crystal Palace. This is stage 2 of that movement. So right now, waiting to see where John Textor goes since he lost out on Everton. So does it end up going Botafogo, Lyon, Crystal Palace? You got Botafogo, you got the win there. Thiago goes to Lyon. Keep an eye on the financials at Lyon, seriously. Then does he go to wherever Textor is and Eagle Football Group are in the Premier League? But like I said, keep an eye on the financials at Lyon. Put a big old circle there. Keep an eye on that as a part of all of this. And Pars says, turns out that Pars' boss and her mom just talked. They do believe that they know my boss. You probably do. See, and that's the thing. The acting community here in the city of Atlanta, you'd think that it's really big, but it's really small. I think everybody knows everybody. And the boss has been in theater here in the market for about 2 decades. So she knows a lot of folks. It would not surprise me, Pars, if your boss and my boss knew each other. So Abby says the new Abstermobile has a thing on the dash she had to look up. Already tells me the outside temp, but yes, 37. That is absolutely true. Absolutely true. At 37 degrees, and this happens in the Subaru, by the way, and this happens in the Infiniti. It gets to 37, it gives you the temperature warning. 37 degrees apparently to cars these days mean it's. So yeah, not 34 or 32, but 37. Just enough warning to sit there and say, yeah, it's cold. But that's just how this is. 37 is cold to cars. And it always freaks me out when you sit there and it's like you're in a cold automobile and you look at the tire pressures and the tire pressures gauge inside the car is freaking out because the tires themselves are like really, really low, even though they're not. But the temperature sits there and tells you that your car tire pressures are like 12 when it should be 35 or 36. And you're like, that's not 12. But you've got to drive around and wake the car up and warm up the car. Absolutely true. I'm right there with you. All right. So it is now 10. Well, it's close to 10 o'clock. We're getting there. But I'm going to go ahead and bring him in a whole 90 seconds early just because I'm in a giving mood. Give, never take. You know me. So I'm going to bring in Bart. And it is a Monday. So what is the mug, sir?
Happy holidays, John.
Happy holidays, Bart. By the way, this is something that we have to discuss. And for those that did not have the chance to see this news break, for those of you that have the media that is social, Bart gets to add another title to his business card. This came out, I want to say it came out yesterday. And so Bart is now El Presidente coming in very soon.
Yeah. Retain the title. It's fun. Looking forward to.
He won the bout and retained the title.
Yeah, I was unopposed.
Time limit draw.
Looking forward to the next couple of years as we build toward not just the 2026 World Cup, but then how we can take advantage of that going into 2027 for the Women's World Cup on Netflix. But I'm sure that'll be a discussion point for later. But yeah, no, thanks to everyone who voted for me in the AO elections. I know not everyone here is a part of American Outlaws, but those who did, thank you. And thanks for trusting me to continue to build what we're building here. You know, we're not to brag, but we're one of the largest and most active chapters in the country. And, you know, we have more than 500 members.
Whoa.
And, you know, I think more than anything, Atlanta got to show out what is possible, what it can do this past year when we hosted not just one, John, but 2 U.S. soccer events. And looking forward to more of that as we welcome U.S. Soccer home to Atlanta. The best place for soccer in the country, despite what Kansas City, St. Louis, Seattle, Portland, whatever all those other places might want to say. Soccer is best here in the South, and we know that. And ready to continue to prove that.
Of course you are. And so, of course.
Hey, it's not me saying it. Y'all got a T-shirt.
That is absolutely true. Hey, man.
Blame Jason Longshore for that one.
Hey, man, I know. But yeah, exactly.
I don't want to say I told you so. I don't want to blow our own horn. But toot, toot. We are still recipients and owners of all the trophies.
There you go. So, I mean, that's always have to reference Arn Anderson in these situations. Because right there, soccer's just better.
Soccer is just better in Atlanta, and it is.
Yeah.
It is.
So, all right. So, do you want to start since that news happened last week and I wasn't here to discuss said news? Do you want to go ahead and discuss the Netflix?
We haven't talked about it, John. You were all over my social media feed this week, by the way.
I was. Is that good or bad?
Well, I think it was because of the things you were doing all last week made it onto my social media feed, and a lot of post-game interviews and such happened to be on there. So, I'm sorry you had to interview. I know the story is great, but I'm sorry you had to talk to anyone who is associated with Grayson High School. But,
all right. So here's the deal. Here's the deal. Netflix has acquired the exclusive media rights in the U.S. to the 27 and 31 Women's World Cups, and this is from Paul Kennedy over at Soccer America. It'll be, and this is Kennedy's wording. It'll be the first competition to be acquired in full by Netflix, and also marks the first time FIFA has sold the U.S. rights to the Women's World Cup separate from those for the men's tournament. Fox Sports and Telemundo carried 15, 19, and 23. Before that, it was ESPN who held the rights. 27 is going to be played in Brazil. USA is favored to host the 31. As such, Netflix will benefit from favorable kickoff times for its broadcasts. So you have that happening here. Netflix 27 and 31. It was intriguing that it was sold separately and picked up separately from the men's broadcast, first and foremost.
I think let's talk about that for a second, because I think that is significant when you're talking about growing the women's game, is that you weren't bundling them together. You were trying to sell them separately, at least in the U.S. We know Europe doesn't actually like women's soccer, despite what they tell us in their, best 11s that they put out. But that is significant. I'm sure there is. I haven't seen a number reported, John, but I'm going to assume it's very large.
Yes.
Because I'm sure there are a lot of network television stations that would love to have the Women's World Cup property. We saw in 2023, even with the weird times, huge ratings across the world for the Women's World Cup. We're seeing the NWSL final outdrawing MLS Cup final, no matter what you watched it on. You're seeing great ratings for NWSL games, period. And, I think for starters, CBS was probably one trying to get it, but it became very clear recently, but far enough away that we kind of knew this was going to happen, is there wasn't going to be what we would call traditional broadcast partner for at least 2027. Now, if you want to talk about Netflix itself, this is just my general statement about this, John, is the World Cups are about coming together with friends, with fans, with strangers in a public setting to watch the world's greatest sporting events, right? Yep. That is the whole point of the World Cup.
Yep.
So that by nature, that is a communal media consumption, right? Streaming is an inherently individual media consumption method. And I do think that is the challenge that Netflix is going to have to overcome. Now, at the same time, I don't think I'm worried about some kid not being able to stumble upon the Women's World Cup in 2027, because let me tell you one thing I know about kids these days is they are streaming everything. They're not watching linear television. They're not sitting in front of a TV with the remote going, what's on?
Yeah.
They are streaming. And so from that standpoint, you are meeting people where maybe they are, but for me, they're going to have to figure out not just what we saw during the Paul Tyson fight, where there is some problems with buffering. I'm hopeful they get that figured out. We'll find out. Well, John, in about 2 days, if they got that right. But I do think they're also going to have to figure out, and again, this is probably a component that they're still working on, and I don't know how that'll work, but how do you get the broadcast to go to bars and not on 7 individual televisions on 7 different, stream times? And that's something that Apple TV had to figure out, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully Netflix can. I would love for them to find at least one broadcast partner. Maybe it's ABC to put on the big games. Maybe the US games in the final, but they also know that those are the times that people are going to be watching them. So it's kind of tough. Obviously, this is only in the US. This is not, even Canada or any of the other countries that we Europe and the UK are going to have their own TV rights packages as well. I'm not in favor of it. I don't think it's a sky is falling moment, but I just think that, again, inherently World Cups are about watching together, whereas streaming is about watching alone. And I don't love that for the biggest sporting event on the women's in women's sports. I dislike that part. But I will say, John, based what I saw from the Paul Tyson fight, the production was good in terms of
when people could see it and
what they were doing on the ground, the quality, all that was good. And the other thing is, who was anchoring the desk during that Paul Tyson fight, John?
Yeah, Kate Scott.
Miss Kate Scott. Was she Abdo then or Scott? I forget exactly when she made that. I think she was Scott at that point.
As we are currently referencing her.
Now we're talking about her, Miss Kate Scott, and hopefully we'll be, for the sake of her own happiness and marriage, Kate Scott by 2027. Maybe we're seeing a Kate Scott headed panel. I will say I really did want CBS to get this because they put a lot of time and effort and money into growing the women's game here in the US. They have a fantastic assortment of women's analysis talent. I know we have a friend of the show, Poppy Miller, who would probably be a part of that coverage, as she does work for CBS Sports Network and the Golasso channel.
Yep.
You've got
She
lot of
Paramountian, yes.
Yeah, she's Paramountian. We have a lot of Paramountian women's talent, and so from that standpoint, I was really hoping they would be able to be rewarded with that. But I don't know what exclusivity contracts and non-competes exist, and maybe we'll find some of them coming over to the Netflix for 2027. And hopefully there are a certain couple of personalities that don't make that move and stay with where they are now.
A release from FIFA said that this historic deal would provide U.S.-based fans with unparalleled access to every match live and to immersive coverage, including star-studded studio shows. The agreement includes Puerto Rico covers all languages with top-tier talent, poised to feature in a dual telecast for both English and Spanish language broadcasts in the U.S. This is a landmark moment for sports media rights, said FIFA President Gianni Infantino. So today he feels, whatever.
He feels digital. I don't know.
He feels Netflix today. As a marquee brand and FIFA's new long-term partner, Netflix has shown a very strong level of commitment to growing women's football. This agreement sends a strong message about the real value of the FIFA Women's World Cup and the global women's game. And they've done the documentaries, and you mentioned Tyson and Paul. I tried not to watch Tyson and Paul just on general premise.
I watched it. It was fine.
I mean, you apparently in the undercard you had Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano.
The undercard fights were actually legitimate, and I think that's probably the takeaway. But
most watched professional women's sports event in U.S. history with 74 million viewers. And then Bella Baharia had a quote, mentions Tyson and Paul. Fox had held the rights for 23. 23 tournament was the first cycle which broadcasters bid separately. Previously, Women's World Cup was an add-on. Infantino had publicly criticized bids for the media right ahead of the 23 tournament, labeling them unacceptable, closed quote, period. So game changer for Netflix, according to Richard Deitch. Deitch is always plugged into these kinds of things. When the U.S. team, this is Deitch, when the U.S. team goes deep in the Women's World Cup, the viewership numbers in the U.S. can be massive. The time difference is usually the differentiator. The U.S.-Japan final in 2015, airing in prime time, averaged 26.7 million viewers.
And where is this going to be taking place, John, in 2027?
It's going to be how many?
An hour ahead of us. They're Atlantic time. So,
okay, so hour ahead.
I mean, that's the point, though, right? That is good.
Yes, the fact that it's there as opposed to here or here, like the last time that you were with us in a World Cup setting, where we were trying to do math and make sure that you joined us at 11 o'clock p.m. local time, which was 9:05 our time, and it was time for you to go to bed, time for you to be on the show. So I see how this goes. Final between the U.S. and Netherlands in 2019 averaged a combined 16.9 million viewers across Fox and Telemundo. Spain's victory over England in 23 was the most watched Women's World Cup final on American television that did not include the U.S., drawing 2.1 million viewers for a combined English-Spanish language of 2,059,000 on Fox and Telemundo.
Mm-hmm.
So 6.43 million watched the U.S. 1-1 draw with the Netherlands on Fox, surpassing the previous record U.S. WN team versus Chile in 2019 by over 1 million viewers. Game changer for Netflix and global women's soccer in the U.S., according to Deitch. So Deitch is bullish on this.
I think from a production and resources standpoint, I do trust Netflix to put forth the time, effort, and money to make it look good. I just, again, am concerned about the viewership because, it is, like I said, an inherently streaming media consumption method, but they have, 2-ish years to figure it out, John, so hopefully they do.
Yes. Get your streaming squared away. Tom, okay, sidebar. Tom wants to send a picture. So tell you what, Tom, I will give you my email address and put it in the chat.
Don't send it now. It'll break the internet for John. Please don't do that.
Absolutely true. You're not wrong. So there you go. There's my email address, so you can send it to me, and that way I can find out what, oh, good Lord, Tom has in mind. I don't know what Virginian photo he's sending, but nevertheless. But traditionally for me, when it comes to anything like this, a new partner in a new television/streaming deal, I'm naturally wary because of production issues and things like that. I want to make sure that the production issues are taken care of before you get something that's this big.
Correct.
And so the streaming and the buffering and being bumped out, 74 million versus, I know, probably move the decimal place over 1. That the amount of folks that can watch it and what you can handle are probably 2 different things. And I think Netflix got a big wake-up call with Tyson and Paul. 74 million, we got to figure out how we got to handle all these folks.
Yeah.
And so please figure out how you're going to handle all these folks when you've got this coming in 27 and 30.
Right. And that is going to be the struggle for Netflix. Again, they have a great test dummy on for something that is going to mimic more a soccer event. They're going to have a great test run on Wednesday. We'll see. And it seems like this will continue. They have been itching, they have been trying to get into the live sports broadcasting thing for a few years. We'll see how it works. Maybe they get it. I don't know. But it's fair to be skeptical. I'm with you, John, because of a number of reasons, mainly it being a brand new platform, not just even, had NBC gained it, right? You would have been like, they got the Olympics, And I will say, I think NBC, to their credit, showed that streaming is a viable option for these kind of global broadcasts because Peacock was great during the Olympics, right? And I think they realized that instead of trying to broadcast it everywhere and prioritize things on network television or cable broadcasts, you were able to just say, look, we have three channels that are showing sports of various varieties, but if you want to watch an actual sport, go stream it. You had the major events like the men's and women's soccer and basketball games. Obviously, and live in their entirety,
Right.
maybe in a commercial break or two. But like badminton.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Put that on Peacock. So, it's not quite equitable because obviously the Olympics and the World Cup are very different for a couple of reasons. But I think they showed that streaming was good. But again, badminton, for me in the winter, curling, while there's a big fan base for those, it's not the same as a World Cup match going on at, noon, 3, 6, and 9. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, and I'm glad. Well, you're hoping that Netflix is just being a test dummy and not a test dummy by the time that you're through with it.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you had it as one word and not a word, a comma, and then word number 2.
Yeah.
You're hoping you're hoping the first doesn't turn into the second, is what you're basically.
It's not like the NFL hasn't been used as crash dummies before. See the CTE studies, but
yeah, literally and figuratively. Thank you. Yes, you opened that door. I am. I'm just. It's. I'm natural. I want you to fix your ish. Because you ain't helping nobody if you sit there and you have all this promise and you're like, yeah, and then all of a sudden you still have issues, and we could probably spell it issues by the time that we're done talking about
issues.
Yeah, issues. Yes, ISH-USE issues. That's what you're not looking for in this situation. We got reffing down here. We know that we've got to get into. There were a couple of instances in the Premier League that I know that I wanted to have you look at and walk us through. What else is going on in the Soccer for US POD-ness? I know that we've had there was a big trade in the NWSL involving Lynn Williams.
Lynn Williams going to Reign.
And it was leaked, and she wasn't happy about it because she wanted to say goodbye to her teammates at Gotham before the word got out, apparently. So,
all right. Well, I'm going to make people on the women's soccer sphere mad by saying that this is what happens in professional sports: is these types of things get leaked. Sorry,
they do. That is true. I mean, it happens, but people.
I mean, I'm not saying that she's not right to be like, oh, I wanted to say goodbye to my teammates. You still can.
Yeah,
it was leaked. It wasn't finalized. So, never.
Yeah. So, but it's part and parcel to what you have in all of these large professional leagues is that someone who is going to be looking for the opportunity to break a story is going to have this kind of a story put out there, and it's just that's the bottom line. Literally, that's how this is. You're going to have instances happen.
Yep. This is what happens when you have a professional sports league that's getting attention from the media and being covered by the media. So,
yes.
But that is going to be interesting. I think I like more so the reverse side of that with Jalen Howell going to Gotham. Hopefully a more stable team. She struggled since she got to the league. She's been with a bad Louisville team, somehow got on a bad Seattle team right at the wrong time for them. So hopefully she can find some footing and a consistent good performing team in Gotham and add maybe some competition to that defensive midfield role on the U.S. Women's National Team, because Hal Hirschfeld's had a good season and she's been called up a lot. And I think for me, if you're looking at Howell, she was probably the one that we thought was going to be kind of the heir apparent, if you will, not quite, but to Julie Ertz type of midfielder. We now have the Sam Coffey type, which Sam's good, but I think it's fair to say lacks defensively. We also have Corbin Albert, who lacks morally. But when we have, Hal Hirschfeld coming in, who kind of adds a little bit of that a lot of that defensive bite. She ain't afraid to put a foot through someone, which I think Jarrett Smith would enjoy. But she also has a little bit of class on the ball too. So I'm very curious how Howell can continue to improve her offensive game to kind of match what Hirschfeld has been doing early in her career.
Well, and any chance that we in this footprint get to discuss Hal Hirschfeld, that's never a bad thing.
We will discuss Hal Hirschfeld whenever.
Yes. Malik Tillman got a Golasso 7th goal in the Eredivisie in PSV's 3-0 win over Feyenoord. 3 goals in Champions League play, trails Ricardo Pepi in all comp PSV goals. Pepi, despite his run in 6 starts, stayed on the bench as Luc de Jong scored his 7th league goal, so PSV gets a 3-0 win. Weston McKennie scored the opening goal, the 2-1 win of Juve over Monza, that in turn sacked Monza's coach. Juve now Serie A's only undefeated team after 17, 10 ties, and they're in 6th place. So 7 wins, 10 ties. Brendan Aronson, a score and an assist in Leeds 4-0 win over Oxford United. Leeds remains in 2nd place of the league, from which the 2 top obviously automatically promoted to the top tier. Key scorers injured Josh Sargent and Haji Wright. Norwich sits in 13th. Coventry City sits in 17th. So far, top 5 Americans in Europe. Pepe 13-2. Malik Tillman now at 11 and 4. Pulisic 8-6. Damian Downs, who I did not have in my top 5 for Cologne in Bundesliga B, 7-3. Haji Wright at 7+1. Brendan Aronson is now at 7-3. Weston McKennie at 5-2. And Julian Brandt's return from injury had Gio Reyna, despite scoring last week in his Bundesliga start for Dortmund, on the bench until the 87th when BVB beat Wolfsburg 3-1.
You know, I sat down to watch that game, John, because I finally get to watch a Dortmund game. And it got out of hand. It went about it was tenuous for about 30 minutes, and all of a sudden it wasn't. So I switched over to the Premier League game going on at that time, and then missed Gio Reyna making his cameo for 5 minutes. He's got to look, John. Let's talk about it right now. He does. He needs to find a different club.
Yes,
and it doesn't have anything to do with. Well, it does have a lot to do with injury, but it's more because, Julian Brandt is ahead of you. That's that's not a bad. That's not anything against you personally.
Yeah.
I think he does need to try to find a different Bundesliga club, or possibly go to maybe France. And find a club there that would be willing to take a risk on him. I could also see some Italian clubs that maybe could want him. He does need to just find somewhere where he can play a little bit more frequently, because I also think that is maybe contributing to his injury problems, John, is he's not playing a lot, right? He just needs to also
practice playing and playing are 2 different things.
Yeah, we're talking about practice. It is different. And when you're not playing as much as you probably should, and you're sitting and warming up, maybe that's an issue. I don't know. I'm not a sports scientist. I took kinesiology 101. That's about it. But I just do wonder if that's where he needs to kind of just move so that he can be a little bit more frequent of a player. Let's put it that way.
Needs to be active, man.
Yeah.
You need to get you need to get MINs, and you need to get some G's and some A's. You can't do that sitting on the bench. For the next, just to give you a heads up, over the next 2 weeks, next week when you visit on Monday, I need your stories of the year. And then in 2 weeks, we need to discuss what you're anticipating in 2025. So, your year.
Funny you say that, because our next episode of Soccer for Us will be a look ahead at 2025. Obviously, the last one that we put out last week was a look back at 2024, our favorite moments, our players of the year, all that kind of stuff. So a teaser of what I might be talking about next week is already out. And then 2025 will kick off with our resolutions for U.S. soccer and on all that. So,
all right. So, all right, let's get into reffing down here this week. And
we refereed, John. We did some refereeing.
Yes. So how were your experiences actually wandering back and forth this past weekend on yourself, or did you just watch? Were you? I
didn't have to referee at all this weekend.
Good for you.
Sit down on a couch and watch soccer and wrap some presents.
See, there you go. All right. So where are you? So let me ask you, where are you in your shopping and your wrapping, by the way?
Oh, I am done. I am done with shopping. I might go out today. He's not up yet. I might have to run up to Sephora and go find some things that can stuff a stocking, if you will. But I'm done in terms of buying things. Even forgot that I had bought some things. I was scrambling yesterday talking with my little brother. It's like, oh my gosh, y'all, we got to get this thing for mom and dad. And then I realized, I got the thing for mom. Because I got, as we're having this conversation, I'm get the notification that, you got a shipment. I'm like, what shit? Oh, I forgot I ordered that.
There you go.
So shout out to Target for those expedited deliveries.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but we are good on shopping, John. Are you?
Am I? I think I am.
Okay.
I think. I am at the mercy of the shippers, I think, at this point.
Yeah, I have one or two that should still be arriving today. I'm with you.
Yeah, and me being in multiple locations, trying to figure out, okay, is it going to make it to the ship end, or is it going to end up coming here when
Yeah.
it should be going to the end discussion? That's
Are you in Alabama for the?
I will be for the after today. I'll be in
Okay, you'll
Alabama.
be in LA.
I'll be in LA for the remainder of the week at the mercy of signal strengths and
Yeah.
cell signals and dial-up internet. So just be forewarned that we could have some hilarity.
Dial-up internet.
It's just with the equivalency or whatever it is. Yeah, so I'll be in LA for the rest of the week discussing what's going on. So reffing down here, a couple of notes. And it also kind of spins into a philosophical discussion a little bit.
Oh boy.
All right. So West Ham and Brighton.
Yeah.
So the Estupinian foul on Max Kilman. So Kilman brings the ball forward, and Estupinian basically, he slides and both feet leave the surface, and they
Slides.
Yeah.
Slides. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Why not? So he fouls Kilman. Rob Jones immediately goes yellow and checked by VAR, but no red card. So serious foul play. And this was kind of the philosophical point here. So serious foul play has been something that the Prem, and the PGMOL and VAR have put up on a pedestal and sat there and said, yo, bro, we got to talk about this. But then you have a moment like Estupinian and Kilman, where last time I checked, this probably could have qualified for serious foul play, but you don't pull a red.
Yeah, I think I almost would have rather this been given a red in real time, because it looked pretty darn serious when you watch the actions. I don't think the contact itself is like forcible, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But just because you throw a punch, or just because you don't land a punch, doesn't mean you didn't throw a punch. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I feel like when you watch this, Estupinian was very
purposeful,
out of control, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where we have to look at the levels of the severity of a foul. Again, we've talked about it. I think we have the careless, reckless, excessive force, serious foul play, and that's where I think this was in between that excessive force, serious foul play kind of realm, right? I don't think it was a yellow card. And I am a little shocked that VAR did not intervene to overturn this, mainly because we don't want to re-referee. I think we've had that conversation plenty of times on this segment, but I think the point of VAR is to uphold the standards that the league wants, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the one advantage VAR has in the scheme of refereeing is a neutral, because you're not literally there in the emotion of the game. You do have a little bit of a neutral understanding of applying what the league standards might be. And again, league standards are not IFAB laws of the game.
Right.
Those are different. League standards are how you apply and prioritize IFAB laws of the game.
Right.
And it seems like the Premier League is getting a little out of sorts with serious foul play this season, which is a fair criticism. But at the same time, this probably is a red card in just about any other league. So I just think the problem here was he's 2-footed off the ground.
Wee.
Somehow he hit that slip and slide and went. And to me, that is where I'm looking at this going, that is a problem. If one of the feet were high, okay, fine. It's not even like, oh, you got his ankle. It was 2-footed. He got 1 foot that goes right into. I mean, luckily the dude's wearing shin guard. I assume he's wearing shin guards nowadays. These guys wear shin guards that are smaller than my cup.
Yeah.
But
wow,
they do. They wear tiny itty bitty shin guards.
I know.
So hopefully he was wearing a shin guard big enough to cover that. But it was bad. The angle of contact was bad. The point of contact was bad. But to me, the biggest part was before this, you got 2 feet off the ground. I mean, sliding into contact.
Estepinian looked like he was trying to stomp out a fire at a campsite.
Yeah, and again, he's jumped in the air with both feet.
Yeah.
And to me, that is just, again, this player is not in control of themselves. Arguably, you could say he was in control. He controllably jumped into the player, but that's not the type of control we want to see.
Yeah. And the issue,
right? I mean, they don't even have them protecting the proper area of the shin. They're not shin guards. They're pieces of cardboard that may or may not be around the leg.
And this is, and Dale makes this point, is that, and this is an issue that we seem to have the 180 degrees here with Major League Soccer, is that for some reason in the Prem, VAR doesn't seem to want to intervene and re-referee games, where here in the States, it seems to be 180 degrees the other way, where you have VAR wanting to, or in not necessarily, well, I don't know if wanting is the right word, but taking their job description and applying it to re-refereeing the rules of the game and the laws as they may or may not be done.
Correct. And again, I think VAR is meant to be unofficial to help guide the decision-making process. Video assistant referee, similar to an assistant referee on this running up and down the touchline, would provide information to the referee in the center. I think even in this instance, saying, hey, I think you do need to check this on the video monitor would have been appropriate. And again, I'm always a proponent, and I know it takes a little bit longer, but go through the steps from the VAR standpoint, say, this looks bad. Your decision is not what needs to. The only time you need to make a decision for me are balls in and out of play and offside. Things that the video assistant referee can easily see. Yeah, that is or it is not, right? Because we've had that, like, you either are or you're not offside. This is not a gray area. You are either are or not in an offside position. The ball either is or not out of play or goal or whatever happens to be in that particular thing.
It is do or do not. There is no try.
This is an opportunity for me every time to send the referee to the video review monitor to say, okay, hey, I think you need to take a look at this. Make sure you're checking that it's serious foul play or just, in this case, a very reckless foul. I not saying the referee would have come to a different decision, but I think for me personally, I'd rather the referee on the field be the one who makes the final verdict, not some dude in the sky somewhere, or that this could have been an opportunity for that, and he probably would have said, "Oh, yeah, that's," because he may have said, "Oh, I didn't see it that way when I saw it on the field," because that happens a lot of times. Especially in an instance like this, the referee's close, very close actually, but sometimes you're too close to the action where you're not seeing it that way because you're going, "Oh, no, this is not what I thought I saw," or I didn't see it that way in the bigger picture of the game, right? You might need to take a look and go, oh, yeah, he did have 2 feet off the ground. This was bad.
Okay. The other one is, and I imagine that Ropes is referencing our second one from this week, and it has to do in the goalless draw with Everton and Chelsea, where Jordan Pickford challenges Malo Gusto. Chelsea wins a corner, and this is how Johnson describes it. Chelsea wins a corner, delivery all the way through to Disasi, heads it against the post. Loose ball runs out to Malo Gusto, sees the shot deflected behind. Jordan Pickford had charged out, and the word that Johnson used, clattered into, a truly British description, clattered into Gusto.
Chris Kavanaugh, such a clatter.
Yes. Referee Chris Kavanaugh decided it was a normal collision and gave the corner. VAR checked for a possible penalty, decided that there was not one.
So this is where I don't think this is a penalty. and I'll just say this. Pickford does make contact with the attacker. The goalkeeper does clatter into the attacker, to take the British phrase.
Hey,
but the shot has already occurred.
Mm-hmm.
So we have seen this where a shot happens and there's a foul, and then after the goal is not scored, we bring it back. I don't think that applies necessarily to a goalkeeper making a challenge. And to me, this is not the type of foul where you go, oh, wow, that's bad. Shot had happened. The ball has been kicked away. And yes, it was fairly close after that Pickford is coming through, but it was a legitimate play on the ball. He just was a little late. Again, the shot has already happened. I'm okay with this not going to review to be awarded a penalty.
But isn't late? Doesn't matter. If you're late on a challenge.
If you're a defender, maybe. I'll be honest. If you're a defender, maybe it matters. Okay. For the goalkeeper here, I think Johnson also mischaracterizes what Pickford is doing. He went out with his feet. No, that's how goalkeepers do this. Your feet need to go first so your hands can be up here. Sorry, that's just goalkeeping technique. But this is not. This would have been careless. It's no way, shape, or form reckless or serious foul play. So if the bar is only a careless foul for a penalty kick by a goalkeeper, I'm okay with them not intervening here. And I disagree with Dale Johnson's assessment, because I think what you're looking at here is a slightly late challenge. Not even a late challenge, just a slightly late contact by the goalkeeper after a shot has been taken.
Okay. Because Johnson's verdict says it's a poor challenge and he got away with it because he's only a keeper.
I don't think it's a poor challenge. I think that's my problem. It's not a poor challenge. It's a slightly late challenge.
Yeah. So there is a difference between a late challenge and a poor challenge.
To me, yes. So again, this is a legitimate attempt to play soccer. Let's put it that way. He just happens to be half a second late. If he's half a second early, he gets the ball, or at least he blocks the shot.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with this not getting overturned.
Okay. The gentleman who had worked VAR exclusively has done so this year. Appointed to 12 matches, involved in 23 incidents, and to this point is 115 votes to nil in those 23 decisions. So the panel's 5. It's a panel of 5, and it was panel of 5 agreed each time with each of the 23 decisions that were made in the cage. And so the KMI panel is a panel of 5, and this is how they vote on VAR and who can be a VAR dude and how effective you are at VAR. There's part of me that would enjoy seeing what a KMI panel would do with pro. There's part of me that would be intrigued to see what a KMI panel would deal with pro, with what we've seen, especially with a couple of incidents that stick in my head from this year. Bwanga. Where you have re-refereeing here in the States, but you have the lack of a wanting to jump in England. Where it seems that here you jump in too much and you overcorrect because of the desire to re-referee something, which is not what VAR is supposed to do. VAR is supposed to be an adjunct professor. It is not supposed to be the dean of the school. So, like I said, that's where I am with all of it.
Yeah, I think it would be a very curious. I'm with you, John. I think it would be interesting to at least see. And it would give a little bit more of I don't want to say credibility, but just a little bit more oversight to VAR. And again, I think the issue we were having in MLS is standardization of when you're intervening and if you should or shouldn't. And again, I think that's the thing, is we don't want VAR to make these decisions. Personally, I do not want VAR. I do not want the video assistant referee to be making the decisions. I want them to help the referee get to the right decision.
Yes.
Which is subjective.
That's what I want. So that's where we are. A couple of comments in the Twitch pitch for you about your part of the business card that we talked about at the beginning of the segment. And Abby, you've done a fabulous job. Look forward to more stuff, more fun stuff.
We have more fun stuff coming up. That's the best part.
See, there we go. And Abby's like, now we have to meet with AO leadership about how we can really bring it on at the stadium.
Yeah, I'm hoping that U.S. Soccer, now being stationed in Atlanta and probably visiting some Atlanta United games more frequently, will open their eyes to what we can and do here in Atlanta, and hopefully they allow us to do said things here in Atlanta, because as of the last year, they were against the fun things. But
okay. So
U.S. Soccer is not United States Soccer Fun Federation.
So you're looking for it to be the USSFF instead of just the USSF.
We need to have fun.
Okay, the fun
Fed. USSFF.
Yes. So because you gotta be a fun Fed. You gotta be. You can't just be a Fed. You gotta be.
Do you want cool? Do you want cool shit or not?
Do you want the finger pistols? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Do you want? Before we bid you adieu, so you can continue your shopping and make sure that is there. Rich Rod, Rich Rod back to West Virginia.
Have we talked about this yet? I guess we haven't.
No.
I mean, obviously, you knew my thoughts on Neil Brown.
Yeah.
And he was not getting the job done in any way, shape, or form. And I think that part of that was because he chose to not believe that big things were possible at WVU.
Right.
That seems to be how it was going. And the reality is 6 and 7 is not good enough. 6 and 6 is not good enough.
What?
And, I think Rich Rod being available, though I don't think this was known at the time that, Neil was fired. And I think the two are mutually exclusive. I don't think it was, Rich Rod is available, so we're firing Neil. I think it was Neil is not getting the job done, so he's getting fired. Oh, look, Rich Rod is actually available and willing.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of Mountaineer fans, me included, who have very positive feelings about the Rich Rod era, and some not great feelings about Rich Rod, the man.
Okay. Okay.
But the reality is, Rich Rodriguez is the reason WVU football has the expectations we have now in the 21st century. He took over, and after a not great first season, which, whatever, fine, truly produced the greatest era of football that this program has ever had, even greater than Don Nehlen's blips of success. And I'm sorry, that's just what it was. Nehlen had some success in the late 80s and early 90s, and that was really about it. He got a really dynamic quarterback, and then he got, I guess 93 was also a dynamic quarterback, but he had a passing quarterback and a running quarterback and pretty decent running back. But anyway, it's hard to not look at that and go, why wouldn't we run that back? And I think it's fair to say that everyone wants a hometown kid. They all want an alumnus. They all want a guy who played football there to coach your program, right? I think we're seeing how that has benefited UGA. Now, obviously, you don't have to, because look what Nick Saban did at Alabama and LSU, right?
Yes, true.
But when you have the opportunity to hire a guy like that, you should. And the other thing is, John, the reality is, in my opinion, Rich Rodriguez's resume is better than anything WVU could have got from someone who wasn't from WVU, right? I don't think anyone without WVU ties with the resume that Rich Rodriguez has is necessarily coming to WVU. Probably would have gone to a bigger school, to be quite honest, if he had the opportunity. And so all that just to say, I think this is the best hire the university could have made. He does have, the expectations are high for him. He doesn't get, first season in 2001 was 3-8, which back then, John, we did this thing called play 11 games. We didn't play 12 games.
Yes.
3-8 is unacceptable. Great. Luckily, you have a fairly easy non-conference schedule. You have 2 FCS teams, or 2. You have Ohio and an FCS team. You have Pitt. You got to win that game.
Yes, you do.
Win that game.
You do.
And then you have a Big 12 that is still fairly wide open. You host Colorado, which probably the biggest game, if you will, you go to by BYU. But other than that, it's not anything super crazy. I think we go to Arizona State, if I'm not mistaken. I think Arizona State's on the schedule in some capacity next year. But, you still got Cincinnati and UCF. Those are winnable games. So that's kind of the thing here is you have a great opportunity to start off on a strong foot. I mean, Neil Brown probably could have gotten to 7-5 next year. But you are resetting and rebuilding. There's a lot of kids in the transfer portal right now. Now that doesn't mean they all leave. So that's going to be how this is a different era of football. Now, I think Rich Rod is more willing to accept the transfer portal and use it to work with it than Neil Brown did.
Yeah,
I do believe that. He might be old school, but he's always been an innovative coach. That's literally why he got to where he was at WVU in 2001, thanks to what he did with Clemson. And hopefully we get a repeat of the 2006 Sugar Bowl where you have West Virginia beating Georgia here at home. That was maybe the greatest day of my life, John. I won't lie. And again, nostalgia is a hell of a drug, John. It's a hell of a drug.
I can agree.
But the reality is that nostalgia is not made up. That nostalgia is real. You had some of the best years of this program, some of the highest highs of this program. You had the lowest low at the very end. You absolutely did. That was terrible. But he got you he almost brought us to the mountaintop. He really did. And you have to be excited. Now, does that mean we're winning a Big 12 championship every year? No. But does that mean we have the expectation now to compete for a Big 12 championship every now and then? Yeah, we weren't going to get that with Neil Brown. So I think this is an immediate upgrade in the head coaching position. And I think, again, John, I'm sorry, I'm going to bring Atlanta United coaching into this, so I'm sorry. I feel like I had the same coach for both my favorite soccer club and my favorite college football team. Really nice guy, does things the right way. Was winning their biggest priority? I'm sorry. I'm calling out the dude who was here at Atlanta United before this because he seemed very focused on playing soccer in a very specific way and being nice and doing all the good things. It didn't seem like winning was prioritized the way it should have been. The hire you're making now, and I think Atlanta United got it. I mean, look, I'm not here to talk Atlanta United, but if you're talking about the best possible candidate you could get at this time, the dude who won MLS Cup and has won 4 other league titles and various other locations, it's a pretty damn good hire. That sets the expectation to be, we will win. And that, to me, is where the expectation is returned for WVU football. It's not, oh, well, I hope we make a bowl game this year. Or the expectation is just to make a bowl game. The expectation for Atlanta United, maybe next year it's make the playoffs. But after that, you got to be competing for championships. Trophies need to be coming home. And that is the standard that WVU probably wants to get to, is at least being competing for trophies. And if you're Atlanta United, the expectation is you win trophies. That's what we're here for. Sorry. That's what Atlanta United is here for. Arthur Blank did not start this club to just be a fun little side project.
No.
So
no. He did not. He did not. How do we phrase this? He did not want to attach his name to a hospital and just have it be in its old location. He wanted to make sure that hospital was the best damn hospital that you could see along those same lines.
I mean, that's why he's got an animal hospital named after him. He's got a children's hospital named after him. He's got all these things that are associated with the Arthur Blank name, and he doesn't want those to be.
Yeah, he ain't playing.
You can. I'm sorry, Don. I'm really high. I'm struggling with Atlanta United because I want to be like, wow, this is great.
No, but you're Missouri.
But I'm still
You're Missouri, and I get that.
I'm concerned
Yeah.
that we haven't been able to accomplish that in the recent years. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful.
Mhm.
You know, you got a what seems to be the best GM that you could have got.
Yeah.
You've got, as in theory, the best president you could have hired,
Mm-hmm.
and now you, I think, have the best head coach you could hire, given the criteria you probably wanted to set forth, and one of those being winning in this league, which Jim Curtin doesn't. Sorry, he's a big shiny object out there, but you know what he ain't won, John?
I believe that would be a title, sir.
A title. I
Mhm.
don't think he's even won an East. He's never even. He's what, made one final?
Yeah, he made the final. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Did he
final
make an
where
Open Cup final. I don't
oh,
think he's made an Open Cup final even.
let's,
Trying to
effort,
remember. I don't think they've
let's
won
effort that info, shall we?
I know, efforting. But Jim Curtin was a big shiny object, and I understand why people wanted him, but never won an MLS Cup. He made it once. Great, good for him. You know, that's fine. That's you know, I think that Ronnie Diala was a better choice, and I don't know how much they knew about the situation. I think Garth was pretty coy about how he addressed that. The firing of Diala, which, by the way, I think anyone with a brain understands that Diala being fired was not a Diala problem. That club seems to be reading the comments, John. Granted, they were translated, but reading the comments under the post the club made about, like, we have fired Ronnie Diala on both Instagram and Twitter, and all the fans are like, is that the problem? Really? That's the problem? Like, you know, it felt like,
Bruh.
yeah, it was like, okay, fine. Yeah, I guess you have to because you're not winning, but like, you're not winning not because of the coach.
You won. You won the appetizer pie plate in 2020. You were runner up in 22, and Open Cup runner up in 14, 15, 18. That's what.
Which is, look, I'm not shaming what he did, because I think what he did, it's objectively fair to say that what he did with Philadelphia is an overachievement, right? Especially for as long as he had success, you know, post COVID till now, Philly was one of the best teams in the league, East or West.
Mhm.
Didn't win, you know, and it's fair to say that, look, NYCFC was not a even top 4 team, I don't think, when they won MLS Cup back in 2001, but you won it. You know, now he's going to have to figure out how to win on an actual field, John. So that'll be a difficult struggle. Maybe is he'll have to figure out how to win on a full size field. By the way, my last refereeing that I did, John, was on baseball fields. I don't know if you saw that. I was up at Lake Point up in Emerson, and now, granted, a lot of these were like 15 and under. So, like, if it's a slightly smaller field, it's probably not the worst thing. But yeah, it was short, but it was wide enough. It was 70 yards. I walked it out. Now, granted, we didn't have pitchers mounds, which I think might be the difference here. but the dimensions of the field were smaller, right? If you're on a baseball field, it was 320 to right and left and 385 to center.
Wow.
So you did have some restriction on that because that curve started coming in. But NYCFC should maybe figure out, with all that money between the Yankees and City Football Group, they could have just figured out how to make a removable pitcher's mound. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe, perhaps. All right, let's see. So we'll be back next week with you, and we will discuss if you got your pony or not for Christmas, and whatever. Because if there's a pony that wanders, you know, back and forth next week, and
oh man, yeah, I asked for very simple things this year, John. So,
like a pony,
not a pony. Not a
man. Pony. I was asking. Anyway, all right. So
someone in the apartment wanted a dog, though. That's not happening.
Well, because you.
I mean, I love dogs, but
then you would have to measure the dog versus the surface area of the apartment, and then
it's going to be a little dog.
Maintenance.
The discussions have been had on what types of dogs would be brought into the apartment. So
understood. All right. Well,
into this apartment, not this year anyway.
No,
not for me.
No, and so we will keep an eye. We'll keep an eye on the portal. We will keep an eye on National Signing Day in early February for you and WVU, and see how the trickle down effect gets after a WVU football.
Well, curling gear is not on the list this year, but we do have an Olympic. But Winter Olympics is next year.
Yeah, Cortina.
So I guess next year is in 2026, not 2021.
Yeah,
in Milan.
Yeah.
Well, Cortina.
Yeah, yeah,
So maybe next Christmas will be some curling gear as we support soccer club owner
John Schuster. That is absolutely correct.
Schusty as he goes for another gold or another medal.
And that's the thing, is that you got to get your Duluth FC gear, and you got to make sure that everything is all locked up where that's concerned too. You have to support your local curling owners.
Hey, he could be. Well, we've gone off the rails. It's Christmas week. Whatever.
Yeah.
If John Schuster wins a medal in 2026, he'll be one of the very few men who has like more than 2 gold medals. It's one thing to continually make the Olympics, but the fact that, if y'all don't remember, in 2006, they got gold in Torino. He was I think the lead. Yeah, he was lead at that point. And then became skip in 20. When did he fully take over as skip? I want to say 2010. Yeah, because what's his name retired, and so Schuster took over as skip in 2010, and it took a while, but 2018, that gold medal. Very few men have done multiple golds, mainly because, and if you're gonna, sorry, we're off the rails, so we're doing it. But when you look at the Canadian men, they have a lot of competition. So Gushu is probably their best team, but he can often be beat just because there's really darn good men's curling teams up in Canada.
Brad Gushu is the guy that you really have to look at.
And Kevin Cooey made an Olympics, I think, and Gushu hasn't done great at the Olympics. Adine with Sweden is good. Obviously, the problem with Scotland is, their Team GB. I think there might be a favorite in 2026, though. Their team's been pretty good. Point is, a lot of competition on the men's side, but Schuster's just continually been the best U.S. men's team, mainly because U.S. curling kind of rigs it all together. But that has allowed him to continue to find success at the Olympics, and so 2026 is going to be interesting. I'm curious if they have any younger teams coming up. They've got the Corey Dropkins rink that's hit or miss, depending. They can get hot and beat you, but they're not consistent. We'll see. I don't know. And Gushu's got a lot of competition now up, and there's some young teams up in Canada that's coming up on him too. So anyway, I could do curling down here for a while.
That reminds me that I've got to send Shuey a Christmas card. That reminds me.
Oh yeah, she gets a Christmas card. That's all that said. We have men's and women's championships coming up in late February, early March.
We got to get you. We got to get you the Scots. We got to get you to cover the.
I would, John. Of like on my sports bucket list, there's a U.S. Open for tennis and the Scotties. Not the Scotties specifically.
Yeah.
The reason I fell in love with curling was Jennifer Jones.
Joe Bernard, Jennifer Jones, right there, brother.
And so to be able to watch the women's championships up in Canada would be ideal. I'd love to go to a U.S. men's championship as well. Well, I guess they do the men's women's together, so I would love to do that. But the Scotties up in Canada are definitely a bucket list item. So
no doubt. All right,
you've never been to Canada, so maybe that'll change.
Yeah, see, you got to get your passport so you can go to Canada.
I have a passport, John.
You can go to Canada then.
I know. I just haven't been.
All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your Monday, and make sure that all your shopping is done, and make sure that oh, that's right, you got to go to Sephora. That's right.
I might have to.
Yeah. So go to Sephora.
This weekend. Sephora is a little farther away. So.
Yeah. All right. So go to Sephora, get your gift shopping done. We'll see you next Monday.
John, Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah to those who celebrate as well. Abby, I know y'all are starting late this year, so enjoy those festivities. And to anyone else,
by the time we're back next week is when we can wish Abby another happy Hanukkah, because
I know you get multiple happy Hanukkahs, Abby. Congrats. And I'll see y'all next Monday.
You got it. See you next Monday. There goes Bart, and then he's going to go and do things. See you later. So there goes Bart. All right. So, yeah, Bart is. So what was Abby talking about? Yes. For all Abby. Let's see. So talk about. Let's see. Yeah, lost to Bale and Company, and when Gareth Bale came on and had the late sub and came on and had only been on the field for like 10 minutes, and they got the late goal for LAFC. Abby, for all those wanting Curtin to come here, pooey on you. Thank goodness he was not chosen, hopefully not even considered. You know what? There's still a job opening in Toronto. Could you imagine Jim Curtin in Toronto? I think that the next place that Jim Curtin goes, he's going to want both titles. And I think that he'll end up getting both titles. Keep an eye on Toronto, just because. Toronto's going to want to throw money at a problem. And Jim Curtin is going to want both titles. They've done it before with Bob Bradley. Will they do it with Jim Curtin? I think that Curtin and Toronto, keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on that one going forward. So Will is thinking that Rob Valentino needs to be at a USL Championship thing. If Kaler can join us tomorrow, we'll discuss that as a part of everything else. Let's see. And I'm trying to see what else is. Abby's taking a small break to pick up the kitchen sink. Is Austin still open? I thought that Austin was Austin Nico Estevez. I thought Austin picked up Nico Estevez from Dallas. Hang on. I thought it was Nico Estevez. But accept and continue. Club. Technical staff. Borrell. I thought it was Nico Estevez. Yeah, Nico Estevez is the head coach. Yeah, Rodolfo Borrell is sporting director, chief soccer officer. Nico Estevez was brought in from Dallas. He got let go from Dallas and brought into Austin. And it's Davy Arno, Beto Gonzalez, Coro Galan, and Alberto Ballesteros. That's your coaching staff. But yeah, Nico Estevez from FC Dallas is now in Austin. So that's where the Austin situation is. So, okay. So before we get out of here, it's got to be a gossip, rumor, and innuendo that I missed. And I know that at some point this week we got to talk about schedule. The GAM that was published in Major League Soccer, that is now officially out. Really haven't had, and you did send the pic and I did download it. So we're looking at thirds. So let me bring that up really quickly. So this is Tom's idea for third. There you go. So it is sashy. You got the gold with the a black. I'm guessing that's black trim, Tom. Black shorts, the red sash on the gold jersey, gold socks, and red hoops on top of the socks, gold socks, and so black shorts, black trim, red sash, gold jersey. So that's what Tom was bringing to the table with his third jersey idea. So the sash is 5 stripes. Okay, so yeah, so the 5 stripes. So 5 stripes. It was the sash with, I guess there's gap space in between. So that's your that was Tom's idea. So I actually figured out how to download that. So there you go. Trim was black and dark red. Thank you. Because like I said, in trying to gauge something with colors, and thank you for filling in the holes of my color gaps. Let's see what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, gossip, rumor, and innuendo before we get out of here. Once again, tomorrow will be normal. I'll see if Kaler can join and we can go through the USL one more time. I'm going to check in with Tyler, check in with Nino, check in with Nico, and check in with Tyler with the Kaler to see if he can join us as well for one last trip. So, okay, so Liverpool are going to have to wait for Pedro. So here's your gossip. Liverpool's approach for Brighton forward João Pedro likely to have to wait till the summer, as the demands will have to make a January move difficult. PSG are willing to pay €100 million to sign Isak. That's from Fichajes. PSG also looking to trigger the release clause, £48 million in Athletic Bilbao winger Nico Williams' contract, but Manchester United, Barcelona also interested. Barca have lost faith in Frenkie de Jong. Looks increasingly likely that he will leave. That's from Relevo. 3-Litter Paper is talking about Leicester City. Newcastle, one of the clubs interested in Barcelona's Eric Garcia, but the former Manchester City defender wants to stay at the new camp and fight for a first-team place. Crystal Palace want to sign Benfica's midfielder Jean-Nicolas Beste in January. Real Madrid considering a move for Spain. U21 center back Rafa Marin, who trained at their youth academy, currently plays for Napoli. 3-Litter Paper is talking about Ollie McBurney. Nicolas Shearer says that Lamine Yamal close to extending his contract with Barcelona until 2030. And remember, always remember when you see something of, and also keep an eye on separately, the B sample from Mihajlo Mudryk at Chelsea. When you see someone under contract for an astronomically long period of time, it is to control the asset. If Lamine Yamal continues to improve at 17, if he continues to improve and turns into the next big thing of the next big things, he will continue, that value will grow up, but Barcelona has control of the asset for 6 more years. I do not anticipate that he will stay 6 more years, considering that Barcelona needs all of the relief financially that they can get their hands on. So in, say, 2 years, if Lamine Yamal is still blowing ish up, then do not be surprised if Barcelona puts a massive release clause on him and then he goes someplace else like PSG or England or what have you. But right now, according to Nicolas Shearer, Lamine Yamal looking to close to having the contract extended to Barca until 2030. Speaking of Newcastle, they will let Callum Wilson leave on a free when his contract expires at the end of the current season, according to our friends at Football Insider. So remember all the Callum Wilson talk here? 32 years old. Okay, so what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. And we've got all of that stuff. Sacramento Republic signed Neil Collins as a head coach to replace Mark Briggs. Atletico Madrid has won now 12 in a row, by the way, beating Barcelona. They're now at the top of the ladder. And let's see, soccer on TV. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. So here's, it should be a light day. Yeah, it's pretty light. All on Paramount Plus. League One, 3 o'clock. Crawley Town, Birmingham City. And Serie A has Udinese at 12:30 with Fiorentina and Inter and Como at 2:45. So a light day, but it's all on Paramount Plus. 12:30, 2:45, and 3, depending on what what you fancy as what's going on there. So, all right. So Premier League standings as we get into festive fixtures. After all of the chaos of the weekend, Liverpool 4 points clear with a match in hand, 39 points to 35. Chelsea, Arsenal, Forest. Didn't have that on the bingo card. Bournemouth in 5th. Forest in 4th. Bournemouth in 5th. Villa in 6th on goal difference. Manchester City, 17 matches played, 27 points. I think the title is lost, but they surely can get into Europe. They should be able to get into Champions League without much of a problem because they're only 4 points back of Forest right now. Newcastle is at 26 in 8th. Fulham at 25 ahead of Brighton by 1 goal in goal difference. That gets us to Spurs in 11th, who are at 23, plus 14 on goal difference, by the way. Brentford, 23 points, 12th. Manchester United, 22 points, 13th. The screaming that you hear on a weekly basis is Drew. We're waiting for 3Ds, and I think Drew is probably waiting for his tongue to stop bleeding before he actually brings another set of words in to discuss his beloved United. West Ham is 14th and 20th with 20 points. Everton at 16. Crystal Palace, 1 goal behind Everton and 16th at 16 points. Leicester at 14. Wolves and Ipswich are in the relegation zone right now, but they're only 2 points out of being out of the relegation zone. And then Southampton with their point with Fulham on the weekend now is at 6 points. Still only 1 win, I believe, so far this season. But if you look at positioning, right now, 4 points separating 15th from 19th. So the 2 in the relegation zone and the 3 out of the relegation zone separated by 4 points. 8 points separate 5th from 14th. 28 points to 20, 5th through 14th right now in the Premier League table. We got festive fixtures to look at and all the other things that are going on involving the sport that we talk about each and every day. Manchester United planning to play in Malaysia next summer, earning about £8 million pounds. And so that is that's where we are. So that's a Monday. we got stuff to talk about. We got a lot of stuff to get into. A lot of stuff that we got to get into this week, like I said. Oh, and keep an eye on a couple of things involving Atlanta, a couple of Atlanta United Academy folks. It appears stuff published on social media has Aiden Torres training with Porto, and also Ethan Degny is apparently training with Nice. So keep an eye on those two Academy products are overseas. Don't forget, the Athletic has your requested reading about Mateus Click and what he brings to the table and his parents in a drinking game. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. And like I said, we'll try and catch up with Kaler and get into schedules. Tomorrow, for what it's worth, will be from L.A., Lower Alabama. Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Lower Alabama. God help us with the signal strength. So we'll see what happens. But it's great to be back. Great to see all of you. And thanks for everything always. Don't forget, once again, Sports Podcast Awards. Vote, 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 vote. The SPA, sportspodcastgroup.com. Go into the sports category, Best Sports Talk Podcast. That's us. Go there, vote. Find another computer. Vote on that one as well. And so you can continue to vote until, I think, January 13th. Vote early, vote often, because we're going up against New Heights and some folks called SV Pod and Bill Roden on Sports. So Bros Pod, SV Pod, New Heights, and us, and 8 others in the 12 finalist category for sports, for Best Sports Talk Podcast at the SPAs for the 2024 year. So we're back at it again here, and tail end of 2024, we've got all of our episodes that we're going to submit to try and see if we can stay in these awards, in these awards promotions and things in 2025. But we couldn't do it without you guys every single day. For everybody here at SDH, I'm just John. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do. And we'll be back at it again tomorrow, because that's what we do. And so it'll be fun. And thanks for dropping by, as you always do. Play it safe, everybody. Mucha platial. And since it's the end of the show, we got to do this. We got to catch up with our favorite lieutenant before we say goodbye.
Hey, let's be careful out here.